The Whispers in Room 406. David had always been skeptical of ghost stories. As a traveling salesman, he'd stayed in countless hotels, from dingy roadside motels to five-star suites, and never once had he encountered anything remotely supernatural. That was until he checked into the Maplewood Inn. It was an old but well-maintained hotel in a small town, the kind of place that had been around for decades but somehow refused to fall apart. The receptionist, an older woman with tired eyes, hesitated when David requested a room. Room 406 is available, she said after a pause. David didn't care about room numbers. He just needed a place to sleep before heading to his next stop. The room was ordinary: plain beige walls, a slightly musty carpet, a single window overlooking an empty parking lot. He tossed his bag on the bed and went to the bathroom to splash some water on his face. That's when he heard it. A whisper, low, unintelligible, but unmistakably there. David froze, heart hammering. He turned off the faucet and listened. Silence. He exhaled, shaking his head. It had to be the pipes or his imagination. He'd been driving for hours after all. He lay in bed, scrolling through his phone, trying to ignore the creeping unease in his gut. Then he heard it again. A whisper, closer this time. His skin prickled as he slowly turned his head toward the closet. The door was slightly ajar. Had it been open before? David sat up, staring at the darkness beyond the crack. He told himself it was just a draft, maybe the air conditioning shifting the door. But as he reached out to close it, a voice, clear as day, rasped from inside. "Let me out!" David yanked his hand back. His breath came in short, ragged gasps. This wasn't his imagination. Something was in there. Then, the door creaked, slowly swinging open on its own. A wave of cold air rushed into the room, and in the dim light, David saw movement. A shape. A shadow. It stepped forward, its form barely distinguishable from the darkness around it. And then he saw its eyes. Two pale, milky white orbs staring at him. David bolted. He grabbed his bag and sprinted out the door, slamming it behind him. He didn't stop running until he was at the front desk, breathless and shaking. The receptionist didn't look surprised. She just sighed. 406 again? She murmured. David nodded, unable to form words. She slid a different key across the counter. Try 302. David stared at her. What the hell